very positively. You might be trying to ground balance over some metal that's in that ground. Just simply move over and ground balance again until you don't get that. To summarize some of the things that are in addition here, we have a headphone jack in the back. It will accept any standard 1/4-inch jack. It will operate in both mono and stereo. We certainly advise that you use headphones with the MXT, don't we, Bob?
Absolutely. The capability of having volume controls, especially if someone is sensitive to tone, you have the capability of lowering that volume a little. Also, your battery life is much longer with using headphones, and your depth of small targets, very faint targets, are easily heard with headphones, because normally you would be holding this about 3 feet from your ear, and that's not
it's not comfortable, is it?
Yeah, exactly. It's a long way. So therefore, you would miss the small targets, is what I'm trying to say.
Another thing we might mention is on the gain control. It's actually a 5-speed gain control. You can think of it as shifting gears. When you turn the gain control on, you'll hear your threshold, and then you'll notice a series of clicks. There are actually 4 clicks. They kick in at about 3.5, 5, 9, and then again at +1, which is just over preset. This is shifting into a higher gear for the sensitivity control. You can really get some magnificent depth out of the machine. Obviously, if you turn the gain control too high, the machine will begin to false target, and you simply back it off until you have steady, smooth operation. We hope this brief demo should be all you need to operate the MXT in the relic hunting mode. Our experience with the MXT has really convinced us that we have a winner here, and one that the relic hunters should be anxious to get their hands on.
Absolutely.
We hope our enthusiasm for this detector is evident. It really is an excellent hunting machine, extremely versatile, easy to use, great price point, and it's a lot of fun. Hope you enjoy it.
And now for prospecting, a man that needs little introduction, Jimmy Sierra.
I'm here today to explain some of the controls on our new MXT, our multi-purpose detector, which has a prospecting program built into it. I'll explain each control, and as you see, there are very few. We've got 3 knobs, 2 toggle switches, and a trigger under the meter, and a meter, of course. The first control on the left at the top is the mode switch. That determines which program you're going to be operating in. There's a coin and jewelry program with the toggle switch forward. In the center position is a relic program, and in the pulled position is a prospecting program. So obviously, when you go prospecting, you're going to pull the toggle switch down, and it will stay there during the entire time that you're using the detector. On to the right is another toggle switch. Tracking is the ability of the detector to cancel the ground as the loop or coil is moving over the ground. Most of the time, probably 90% of the time, you'll be using it in the pulled position, which is canceling out iron mineralization. So I'll leave this down in the tracking ground position. That leaves us 3 knobs, and they're quite simple. The first knob is the on-off switch, and as you click it on, you would rotate it up to the preset mark, which is over to the right here, about 9.5. There's a diamond, and that would be the full gain that you would want to start with. The second control is a dual control. The outer portion is called disc, and that doesn't apply to prospecting. The inner portion is called SAT, self-adjusting threshold, and that is the hum that you're hearing on the threshold control right below it. So I'm going to turn this clockwise, bring a hum that you can hear, and the adjustment of that hum is controlled by the speed of the SAT. Now the amount of hum is what you hear when you go over bad ground or you go over a target. That hum is interrupted, and as the speed at which it comes back to that hum again is called self-adjusting threshold, and the speed of it is determined by the numbers here, 0 through 8 basically, and then a little area that can be read at the far end called hyper-sat. Under the meter is a toggle switch, which has a center position, a forward position, which locks on, and a squeezed position, which is temporary. You squeeze and release. The center position is called the actual primary mode. That is the primary search mode, which includes hearing the target and superimposing a grunt if it's probably iron. If you didn't want to be bothered by a grunting sound and wanted to hear every target and investigate every target independently, and as far as the audio signal is concerned, you would push the trigger forward and leave it there. Then you would hear every signal just as you did with the trigger in the center position, but would not hear an iron grunt when the probability of iron got to be about 80%. Squeezing the trigger stops tracking and allows you to pinpoint. The meter is self-explanatory. I'll go into that in a second, but it's labeled at the bottom for prospecting. Of course, it's got identification for the other two modes of operation, coin and jewelry and relic. At the bottom, it merely says gold and silver and iron, and that is there just to let you know that's you're going to find all metals basically in the prospecting mode, not just gold and silver and iron, everything in between, because it's an all-metal detector at that point. Now I'd like to explain what is happening with the display when you're operating the detector. First, of course, I'll turn it on with the on-off switch here, which is on the gain control, bring it up to preset. The first thing that it shows is battery check. It says 10, full battery check would be around 12. And of course, when the battery runs low, it's going to say low bat, and that'll appear on your screen as well. What is happening now is we have a ground on the right, GND, which is where the ground is balanced to. Then it'll have an iron target question mark. That's going to give you the percentage of probability of iron. On the upper left-hand corner is the letters VDI, and that's going to be on there on all three programs, prospecting, relic hunting, and coin and jewelry. And now I'm going to identify what's on the meter in the neutral position. We haven't done anything yet. The VDI number is not there because there is no target. There is no target. The iron ID percentage is not there. There is no target. The ground says 50, and that's an arbitrary place to start. You may lower it to the ground and see a number jump up right away. That's because it's measuring the ground right off, but it wants to cancel the ground. So I'm going to have Steve take a ferrite sample which simulates black sand, which is the worst kind of black sand ground there is, and he's going to pump it a couple of times. Give it a couple of pumps, Steve. And it jumped right up to 85, and you don't hear a threshold. What happened now was that the motion of the loop just 2 times, and usually that's all it takes, on the ground, will run the ground balance number up to where the ground is, and the threshold of the ground will go away, and you'll hear just the threshold of the detector, so you won't hear any signal on the ground. At first you heard a boom, boom, and then silence, and only you hear now is the threshold. This is the neutral position. The ground will change. In this case, if you're looking at this now, it's 66 because we've let it sit and the ground is gone. I've had him pull away the ferrite sample. In real conditions, you would be moving this up and down and the ground would register exactly where it is. It'll stay at 70 or stay at 60, and as the ground changes, it'll move in small increments to accommodate it. That's called tracking, and that's what's happening. It's showing the tracking. Now I'm going to have Steve, I'm going to turn the tracking off for a moment. Now it's locked in at balanced ground, and Steve will wave a nugget in front of it. And it'll say on here, VDI plus 16, iron target. Let's do it again a few times. Okay, keep it going. The VDI is a plus 16. Well, that's what you'd expect on a coin machine for something that was not iron. The ground, we ignore at this point. The iron target percentage is 10. That's 10% chance it's iron. Well, what does that mean? It means it's 90% chance that it's not iron. You see, so a 10% chance it's iron is very small, and we're going to dig that target. If we have a small nail, on the other hand, and go over it, we're going to hear the grunt go slow. There you go, Steve. And at grunt, it says minus 34. That's down in the negative range where iron should be. Iron target percentage, 90% chance it's iron. That means only 10% chance it's gold. If it grunts, it's over 80% chance it's iron. You don't have to dig those targets if it grunts. Now, I think we want to show you overload here. And if we went over a target that was giving us an overload, and here it is, it says overload, reduce gain, or lift loop. If I lifted the loop now, he'll lift the target away and you'll hear it go away. Steve, if you'll just, now lift it up and everything works again. Put it back again, I could reduce the gain and it would make it go away. So you have a choice of doing whatever you think necessary. First thing, of course, you would want to do is lift the loop. That gives you an idea. You either had too much ground